When Leslie says figure it out for your child, she doesn't mean that you impose a thing for them. It's a with, and the for that you're doing is recognizing what's happening for you and governing yourself accordingly and giving that child room to know that they can be
Definitely.
safe, right? To do that too, and that
Yes,
you'll hear
yes,
them. Yeah.
yes, yes, definitely the coaching them through it. So I had a conversation with my son the other day. He is a gamer. He's had access to his games. I have, in each of them, I've encouraged each of my children to figure out how to be in community with your friends in a different way. So, what does that look like? So, for my eldest, it's been one on one conversations, sometimes over the phone, sometimes through FaceTime, sometimes on Zoom, to remain in connection with her
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends. Um, for my other daughter, she's gotten more into texting. Like, so figuring out what is the way, because we still want to be social even though we're distancing.
Yeah.
For my son, it's been more challenging because he was on a soccer team, and so it's hard for a soccer team to do what they
Yeah.
do virtually.
Yes.
But then it's what can you do? So they've all gotten into a soccer game virtually together. Um, but then there's just the layer of then you got to check, like there's different skills that he's now seeing. I need to do more of this so that I can respond to this, all right? And then paying attention to, yeah, your head's hurting, dude. Like
Yeah.
I can see it. Do you notice that? Are you okay? Do you want to push through? So sometimes he's pushed through
Yep.
because it's been more important to be with his friends. And other times he's like, no, I'm gonna have to sit this one out. And knowing that it's okay to tell them, yeah, I gotta take a break. But again, watching them, observing them, asking them, hey, how does that feel? Is
Yes.
that working? How do your friends feel? Like even trying to help them coach each other through the do is this enough time? Do we want more time? Do we want less time? Do we do it late at night? Do we
Yep.
do it in the morning? Letting them actually figure out what works for them as opposed to me saying, hey, from 10 to noon, why don't you do
Right,
X,
right.
Y, and Z?
So
You
it's
know?
supporting, it's facilitating, it's
Yeah.
not doing it for them. And that is the difference. I think so much of what we need to remember, especially when you're in the space of transition, is that it is not true that self directed means that your kid has to figure it out for themselves. Because I get people who are like, well, my kid isn't ready. That's wonderful that you can recognize that if that's
Yeah.
what it is, and it's not
Yeah.
that you're not ready, because that's a whole
Yeah.
nother thing. But if that's something you recognize, no one is saying that as a self directed supporter and parent, that your job is to bypass that feeling. Notice
Oh,
how Leslie
definitely. Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm seeing if it's like, oh, I can see that your head is hurting. What's up with that? Dealing with the feelings around it, about how other friends feel. How many of us, I mean, there are all kinds of memes up about this. How many of us grown ass people who don't have anybody telling us what to do, at least not on the weekends or after 5 or whatever, how many of us still show up to things that we don't want to be at? It's not that we have to be there. We just don't have the skill of
To say,
saying
yeah.
no, and not, and like holding that, not from a space of like zero fucks, I don't care, but more so like, no, I care, like all the fucks, I
Mm-hmm.
completely care, which is why I'm not going to be available for this thing. I'm not holding any guilt. I don't hold your feelings of why aren't you. I gave you notice. If I was involved in it to do stuff, then I'm gonna make sure that stuff gets done. That's what Leslie's talking about. And I know some of us watching and listening are grown and
Yeah.
still are
Yeah.
practicing that. And it, not to point it out like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? But more so like, look at that. Look at the opportunity we get to give our children to work a skill that a lot of us still are not
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Yes. And